You're watching Fugitive Redeye, and welcome to another episode of Redeye Raw. Today I'll be talking about the different generations of my channel. Before I get into that, just a couple of small things. Little update on some plans of what I'm doing this week. I'm gonna be working on another Badass Showdown. Don't know if that'll be out this week, but it will be out soon enough. I'm currently still editing another Sergeant Friends episode that should be going up as soon as I finish it. It's kind of a longer one that's more extensive and takes a lot of stuff that I need to edit together. I'm going to be doing a Discs in Depth on my JoJo collection so far. I've got quite an extensive JoJo collection. I'm debating doing that now or wait until Thus Spoke Rohan Kishibe gets here. That one's not supposed to get here till June, though, so who knows. I assume the shipping is probably delayed because of the coronavirus, but then again, the JoJo PS2 games came in 8 days since I ordered them from Japan. And again, that was still within the coronavirus. Like, granted, it was, a little bit earlier on, but it was still when the US was starting to get affected. But on the other hand, I think Japan actually got affected more a little bit later than we did even, so who knows. Speaking of things being affected, unfortunately the PS1 game that I ordered from Japan of Harenchigaku in the Pachinko game or whatever it was, they canceled that order and said that they couldn't ship it here because of the coronavirus. They said they couldn't ship internationally. I don't know if that's true, because like I said, I've ordered other things from Japan that have come just fine, but maybe they've gotten worse there. Maybe there's specific regions that are worse than others. Maybe they upped the shipping costs, and what I paid no longer was sufficient, so they just decided, fuck it. I don't know, there's several explanations, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and try again some other time with that one. However, the Dreamcast game is still coming, and it's shipping from Italy, of all places. And it just shipped from Italy, so I'll have my disinfectant ready for that one when that one arrives. Although I think we have more cases than Italy here in the US, but still. Because I know we did, and I assume we still do. But anyway. But most things are still shipping as far as I know. If anything else cancels, I'll let you guys know in a collection update. But unfortunately, I won't be getting that PS1 game anytime soon. Alright, now on to the actual topic of the video, the different generations of this channel. This channel has had a few different distinct generations. We're going to start with Generation 0, which was before the channel existed. So around about mid-2009 up until late 2000, mid-2009 to early 2010, sorry. Around that time, somewhere between there, from 2009 to 2010, in between, before I started the channel, I was still making videos, but I was recording them onto DVDs rather than uploading them to YouTube. I have been able to salvage one of those, that machinima video I did called The Divine Legends. That is up on the channel already. It's part of Gen 0 Redeye, because it was made before Fugitive Redeye as a channel existed. But that so far has been the only Gen 0 video I've been able to salvage and upload to the channel later on. Primarily with those, it was just several attempts at making machinima. There's a few of them that I did, or making video game movies, which is just, basically long plays. I did the same thing with Halo 1, Halo ODST, and Halo 2. I did long plays of those, but I called them Project Halo 2, and Project ODST. It was just, commentary-less gameplay Let's Plays that just played through and was recorded onto a DVD with no commentary. I have not yet been able to upload those because I've had some technical issues on them, but I might at some point. I do still have them on DVD, and if I ever do upload them, I might add some post-commentary later on. And with Project Halo 2, I did this weird thing where I decided not to include Outskirts, and instead included that E3 tech demo, so it wasn't even my gameplay, it was just recording of that. And I called it the Director's Cut, because I've always been fascinated with that tech demo level, so that's why. Also, I know I didn't mention where I got that Violence Jack shirt. That was Redbubble. It's where you can buy a lot of different, fan-made t-shirts and stuff. I'd much rather buy, an official Gonagai merch store, but as far as I know, nothing like that exists, so that's where I got that one. I know I didn't mention that one in the video where I kind of unveiled the shirt, so there you go. I got the Violence Jack other shirt, the one that's just the plain text. Someone actually got it for me as a gift from eBay. But as far as I know, no official Violence Jack merch store exists, unfortunately, so you just gotta go with fan printings. But Redbubble has a few different Violence Jack designs, and then TeePublic has, one. That eBay one no longer exists, but it's just plain text with the title. But getting off topic there, now we're done with Gen 0, let's talk about Gen 2. Or rather, Gen 1, sorry. So with Gen 1 of Redeye, started in October 2010, rather. October 26, 2010 to be specific, was the first ever day that I started the channel. And it was the first day that I uploaded a video, too. A video simply titled Hi. which was me just saying hi and introducing myself. That's all it was. It no longer is up, unfortunately, but I did do a recreation of it for my 100 subscriber special. Gen 1 Redeye was what I like to dub the Your Home for Shitty Webcam Videos era, even though I didn't actually start using that phrase until the beginning of Gen 2. Because the majority of Gen 1 was recorded on the webcam of a laptop computer that I no longer have. There were a couple of videos that were recorded on flip phones and uploaded to YouTube, if you can believe that. That's how Horrorfest was recorded, and that's how Anunnaki War, which was a lost video for a long time, but eventually got uploaded last year, though it was recorded in either 2010 or 2011. So, Gen 1 lasted from 2010 to 2012. And there was only one video made in 2012. The majority were made in 2010 or 2011. Uploads during Gen 1 were sporadic and non-scheduled, they kind of are now, but they're much more frequent. They weren't very frequent in Gen 1. In Gen 1, I always envisioned it as our channel, not just my channel. I was just sort of the one who ran the account. But the channel I considered a team channel, and I wasn't even originally Fugitive Redeye. I was just Ange, and Fugitive Redeye was the team. But later on, I started to identify myself as Fugitive Redeye and the team as Team Redeye. Although Team Redeye was not a coin termed until Gen 2. In Gen 1, Team Redeye consisted of myself, Danny, Jacob, Snowman, Trevor, and Brayden very briefly. It was all when I was back in high school, so it was a very different era on Fugitive Redeye. Jacob actually used to be in quite a few Gen 1 videos, but some of those videos are either lost or unlisted. But there's still quite a few with him in it, and of course he would later on return in Gen 2. Or rather, maybe even Gen 3. I guess he kind of briefly appeared in Gen 2 as well. So I'll get through all the different generations, so it might be kind of confusing, because I'm just kind of arbitrarily kind of deciding when to split it off into different generations, because it shows kind of the evolution of how my channel turns out. But in Gen 1, most of the videos consisted of either me bullshitting about my opinion about one particular topic or another, or it would be some stupid skit like Horrorfest or Tub of the Heart, or Anunnaki War, which again got uploaded last year, even though it was recorded during Gen 1. There are several lost videos from Gen 1, some because I lost the file, others because I deleted it and had no way to recover it because I was being stupid at the beginning of Gen 2, when I should have just unlisted them if I didn't like them, but you know. Another large part of Gen 1 was conspiracy theories, because, for whatever reason, that was during my conspiracy theorist phase back in 2011, when I was kind of completely off the deep end and was, listening to, David Icke and Jesse Ventura. I mean, Jesse Ventura is maybe a little bit more reasonable than David Icke, but even then, and Alex Jones even at the time. So David Icke is clearly the nuttiest of those three, but it was a weird phase of my life. So I was completely, total tinfoil hat during Gen 1, so most of those videos have been removed or unlisted. There's a couple that still exist. Some of the unlisted ones you can find through links and stuff, but for the most part they are kind of hidden. And some were just outright deleted, which again I regret, because I regret deleting videos that I did not have archived anywhere. And during Gen 1, a lot of the videos were recorded straight to YouTube. They were not stored on a computer at all, because YouTube used to allow you to record straight to the site from your desktop. So your computer webcam would just record, and it would automatically be uploaded without having to store on the computer at all. They don't let you do that on computer anymore, but they do let you do it on mobile. Alright, so Gen 1 ended when I caught some of the other members of Team Redeye trying to watch Two Girls, One Cup without knowing what it was. And me, being the little bitch that I was at the time, slammed the laptop shut and broke it. And that's why there was the 3-year gap, because I broke the computer we were recording on, because I was being the moral police, because I used to do that a lot, because I used to be incredibly moralistic, which I'm not anymore. I used to be super judgmental and over the top. So, before we get to Gen 2, I'll talk about what I like to call Gen 1.5, which is anything that happened during the 3-year gap. So, the 3-year gap, as I've said multiple times, is a gap in my channel between 2012 to mid-2015 where there was nothing uploaded. My channel was just dead in the water for a long time. That does not mean, however, that I was not on YouTube at all. I made several appearances on my friend Gaming Retextures channel, specifically during his Xbox Live trolling videos. That was actually the first time the internet got introduced to Sergeant Bastard. So I would infrequently appear on his channel between 2012 and 2014 as a regular appearer on his trolling videos, and occasionally on some of his Games with Gold reviews and a couple others. But yeah, that was Gen 1.5, or the 3-year gap, or the 3-year, let's use a King Cobra phase and say dry spell. So yeah, there was nothing on my channel for that period, but I still appeared on other channels. I will also briefly mention that there was a part during Gen 1 where I actually changed the channel name to Black Widow Studios, because back in those days they allowed you to have two names, your username and your channel name. And the username was Fugitive Redeye, which was also the channel name up until they added in the new feature to give yourself an additional name. So it was known as Black Widow Studios Fugitive Redeye's channel, which is kind of when I started to call myself Fugitive Redeye rather than just the channel. Of course, they took away that feature, and I would never call myself Black Widow Studios again, because that's generic as shit, and Fugitive Redeye is catchier. So that's Gen 1 and Gen 1.5, the 3-year gap. Let's talk about Gen 2, which was the return. This is what I like to call the return era and the Upload Studio era. I still did webcam videos for a short time at the beginning of Gen 2, but it would slowly become more and more phased out as I would go in favor of using Upload Studio. As well as at that point I had also started making my DVD collection videos on my phone. Or rather on my tablet, because I didn't have a smartphone until 2017, which is actually a little bit into what I like to consider Gen 3. So I used a tablet to record those DVD collection videos, or I would borrow someone else's smartphone, because at the time I didn't have one. But the vast majority of my videos at the time of Gen 2 were made in Upload Studio, and they were edited together using YouTube Video Editor, which no longer exists. Although they do kind of have a new sort of spin-off of that now that lets you edit certain things. Gen 2 was a very rough era, where, again, the phasing out of webcam videos, where I still had a few, but they were gradually being phased out. And the push to Upload Studio, which was, oh god, Upload Studio was terrible. If you watch any of my Upload Studio videos, you'll see what I mean. Because you couldn't control voice volume with game volume, so you just kind of had whatever volume they had it at by default. You couldn't do voiceover and gameplay simultaneously, so you had to record the gameplay, then do voiceover in post. And the app crashed a lot, which is why I got to editing them together in YouTube Video Editor, because they wouldn't crash if I uploaded one file at a time. Whereas after a while, they crashed all the time whenever I'd do 2 files or more, which, granted, I used to edit them all together in Upload Studio, but then it got too crashy for me. At this time, I did not have a capture card, and again, I was using a tablet rather than a smartphone to record my DVD collection videos. But Gen 2 was definitely important, because I started several ongoing series during Gen 2, being Tales from the Drive-Thru, movies you've probably never fucking heard of, cult films, Captain Shame, which is not really a series anymore, but spun off into Sarge and Friends. Because we were recording with tablets and such, Gen 2 also featured a lot of, snack reviews and stuff as well. And Gen 2 was still very much kind of a group effort. It was me, Snowman, and then Dozermac, who was a new member to the team, although he wasn't new to me, but he had never been on the channel before. In addition to that, Danny was absent for the earlier parts of Gen 2, but came in a little bit later during Gen 2 and returned. Jacob's presence in Gen 2 was very understated, with only a couple of appearances here or there, one of which I know is at least unlisted, and another was hidden in the background of a video where you couldn't see him. Unless you look for him, because he's very poorly hidden, but it was a cameo at best. The reason I consider the other videos that followed Gen 2 to be Gen 3 or more is because of the changes in it. Again, each generation reflects what the change in the channel is drastically. So Gen 2 was the Upload Studio and phasing out of webcam era. Gen 3 is what followed that. Gen 3 is different from Gen 2 in many reasons, because in Gen 3, I started using Windows Movie Maker, which I still use to edit today. So I actually put effort and editing into my videos. In addition to that, I also started using screenshots, and then later on in Gen 3, actual video clips of the things I'm talking about. In Gen 3, I also got a capture card, and with that capture card, I started doing actual, let's play gameplay videos, and eventually live streams. Gen 3 very much formed the channel into what it is today. During Gen 3, I expanded Team Redeye to people that did not live near me in person, to Anthony, Corbin, and then towards the later parts of Gen 3, even Chutters, as well as, a few others here or there. Several other Team Redeye members started their own channels during Gen 3, being Snowman. Jacob has one now as well, Ganjagoon42 if you haven't seen it. Trevor's had a couple now. He had one kind of earlier on in, Gen 2, late Gen 2 to early Gen 3, and then there was some drama with that, so now he has a new one that he's had since Gen 3. The current one being Spongy Buttons. The older one doesn't exist, so it doesn't matter. During Gen 3, I also started my second channel, the Team Redeye channel. Of course, all the Team Redeye members are featured on my Team Redeye featured channels pages on the channel, if you're unfamiliar with that. Gen 3 was my favorite generation by far, and it's easily, what my channel was very formative to my channel. But Gen 3 ended with a 2-month gap. From December 2019 all the way until March of this year, there was nothing on my channel. I was having some personal drama and some personal things I had to take care of, and completely stopped for a while. And while I'm still dealing with some of the aftermath of that, it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be, and I'm, getting on with everything and getting things slowly back to normal. But because of that, I consider what I'm doing now to be Gen 4. And Gen 4 is what I like to call the radio silence generation, because number one, it's pretty much exclusively myself. There's no one else that I'm getting involved, really, with the exception of maybe some of the local Team Redeye members in some videos coming up, being Dozermac, Danny, etc. But even then, I've been kind of holding off on having really anyone in the videos, just because it's been a very solo experience for this. In this Gen 4, the radio silence era, I also have been completely inactive in comments for the most part. I'll occasionally type out a pinned comment that's not really directed at anyone, but just to give like a correction on a video or something like that. And I'll occasionally put a heart on a comment. But I don't really talk to anyone online right now in the radio silence era. This era is very antisocial. With YouTube primarily being an outlet where I just post videos and just kind of don't respond or be social. And that's not because of anything anyone personally did, it's just kind of taking a semi-break from the internet, as I've said multiple times, but still uploading, but just not being social online, really. This generation will come to an end, and that will start what will be Gen 5, which ideally will be more like Gen 3, and will be much more fun. Not to say that I'm not having fun with the stuff I'm uploading now, because I'm having a good time still. And I hope that those watching are also having a good time, despite the fact that I may not be being as social and responsive as I used to be. But Gen 4 will come to an end, and everything will go back to normal eventually. And I will start, doing collaborations again. I'll start having the other Team Redeye members appear again. I'll start talking to Corbin and Anthony and doing more in-depth Sergeant Friends with them involved, as well as Team Redeye shit shows. But I'm not sure exactly when Gen 4 will end and Gen 5 will start. There's just some things that I want to have happen before I do that, just so that I'm more set up to do things like that again. And I'm not going to go through all the details, because frankly it would bore you all, and also it's not really anything relevant to the channel. So for the time being, I'm in sort of this weird zombified state where I'm still uploading, but it's just primarily me, and the videos themselves are a bit, are fairly consistent, I'd say, actually, with the Gen 3 videos. With the exception of the gameplay being done in a different manner for now until I get the capture card set back up. But let's hope Gen 4 will come to an end sooner rather than later. But there's just some things I want to get set up and some things I want to get taken care of before I do that, and before everything goes back to complete and total normalcy in Gen 5. That said, I've still had my fun in Gen 4. I've still done quite a few videos that I've thought turned out pretty well, including some Redeye Responds, which, hey, I guess that's kind of social, right? So, I may not be active in the comments or anything, but I've still done my response videos here and there. Not to any of my viewers or anything, but hey, that's something. Not that I expect anyone I respond to will ever actually, respond back to me, because I have a feeling that I'm much too small to be on anybody's radar, but, that's kind of the way I like it. I kind of like the small, close-knit community I have. I love the kind of viewers I have, and I appreciate the fact that I have 800 subscribers now. That's fucking fantastic. That's amazing. I'm truly grateful for that. Another thing that sets Gen 4 apart from Gen 3 is the fact that I have a beard now. Didn't have that in Gen 3. But this beard will be here in Gen 5, too. And if there's any other gens, but I think Gen 5 will probably be the last, unless I make another drastic change on the channel by upgrading to better technology or something, which might happen, at which case that'll be Gen 6. But Gen 5 will be when everything goes back to normal. But yeah, that's the Team Redeye generations, as you can see. My channel has gone through an evolution over time, and different events have caused it to go through different changes. But ultimately, I'm still going to be here, and hopefully for a long time to come. Unless YouTube self-destructs or something, or we all die.